Hi everybody, welcome to the channel today. What we're going to do today is we're just going to have a bit of a rant about some things on classic cars and slightly modified cars that I'm kind of bothered by, and that might be a cautionary tale for some of you if this is your first project that you might be going into. So let me take you for a little quick tour on some of the things on this 1966 Falcon that have been done to it or that were removed by me, and I'll tell you why I have done what I've done.
Well, here's the thing that started this whole rant of mine, is this aluminum underdrive pulley. My engine came with a set of these on it, and I thought, cool, aluminum, lighter weight, no rust, and I guess underdriving the other stuff is good because horsepower, right? The belt slips constantly on this. And in looking at it and comparing it to what the factory put on there, I've determined that it's probably due to the fact that this is an underdrive and that this pulley groove here is the same size as the one behind it. It should actually be significantly larger, like almost 2 inches. So it's putting this belt at a weird angle with the other three. As you see, this belt isn't very big. And I think that's causing my belt squeal problem. I've heard of other people have had problems with squealing belts on aluminum pulleys, and, well, I don't know if it's the aluminum, the underdrive, or both. At any rate, I'm putting a factory pulley back on, and that should solve the problem. Fingers crossed.
Alright, if you've been following along with this project since the beginning, and if you haven't been, I've got like 20 plus videos in this car online you can watch. One of the things that you will remember happened was I bought this engine and it had a Protronics electronic ignition conversion on it. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the problem with those, as I see it, is, first of all, it's an aftermarket component. It's not made with the same hundreds of thousands of hours of testing and research and development that a factory electronic ignition comes with. So there's a little bit of a suspicion there. Now, I had a Protronics on a previous engine that worked fine for the decade that I had it, so no complaints. So I'm not really trying to throw Protronics specifically under the bus, as I think their product is probably just fine. But when you replace points with a Protronics, what exactly are you gaining? The theory is that it's going to start easier, it's going to get better fuel mileage, and it's going to provide a hotter spark, all of which may be true to a small degree. But these point systems worked fine for, decades and decades. And the one in this car also works just fine. The car starts right away. It provides good spark. It doesn't have a problem going up to the red line of this street level engine. So I don't understand this need for everyone to replace their points with an electronic ignition conversion. A conversion that may, just may, take a dump on you at any time. And you're not going to be able to go to your local auto parts store and get another one, most likely. Now, it could be argued that you can't just go to your local auto parts store and get another set of points anymore because points aren't real common. But you can carry a spare pair in your glove box, which is what I do. And they're easy to replace because it's right there in the front of the engine. All you have to do is take the cap off, use a screwdriver, a business card, and you're back in business. Unless, of course, you have one of those dumb Brand X engines that put the distributor at the back where it doesn't belong. But I don't understand why everybody's buying these giant MSD boxes and Protronic systems and having to rewire these cars to make them work correctly. Because if you don't rewire the car, it's not going to work correctly. Stop doing that. Stop hating on your points. There's nothing wrong with them. Now, what's this device we have hiding under the air cleaner? That's called a carburetor. Carburetors were on cars for nearly a century and provided good, reliable service for the most part, and are pretty easy to fix and replace. But everybody's removing these and installing Holley Sniper EFI conversions or some similar product that requires lots of sensors, wiring, programming, and all kinds of other headaches. And then when you're done, it provides about the same performance as what you already had with this fuel toilet sitting on top of the engine. Why are people doing this? I don't understand. For an average street-driven car, is it really that much better for all the expense and headache you have to go through getting the thing set up and running properly? To me, it isn't. Now, okay, I'll admit, you're going to be having a car that probably has easier starting than with a carburetor, and you're not going to be subject to some of the whims of the alcohol-laced fuel that we have today. Thank you, federal government. But really, $1,200, $1,500 for an EFI conversion? And that's not where it stops, because you've got to have an electric fuel pump. You've got to run a return line, and on and on and on. This carburetor is very simple. It's very easy to work on once you understand them. I just don't get it, folks. I like my carburetors. I like my fuel toilets. Now, granted, I don't run Hollies because I'm not a fan, but everybody has their favorite carb. The knowledge is out there to make them all run good. Why are we throwing these things away for an electronic nightmare? Oh my God, this car is going to overheat so badly. It doesn't have an electric fan. It doesn't have a shroud. Danger, danger! Antifreeze explosion imminent. This car runs just as cool as it did when it left the factory, with a factory fan, no shroud, and just this aluminum radiator. And the only reason it has the aluminum radiator is because they're just so cheap. If your car is overheating with a stock setup, something is probably wrong. Your fan maybe isn't close enough to the radiator. Notice the spacer on this one, very important. Maybe you don't have the right kind of fan. Maybe you don't have an adequately sized radiator. Something is wrong if the car is not staying cool. They were staying cool when they left the factory. What's changed? Think about it before you start re-engineering everything on the car's cooling system. And finally, my final rant, rear disc brakes. Why is everybody obsessed with putting four-wheel disc brakes on their 1960s muscle car? No, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that the rear disc brakes aren't better than the drums that it came with. They are better, but how much better? Think about it. When your car's going down the road, when you hit the brakes, where does the weight go? Towards the front. That's where you want all of your major braking done. So sure, swap those disc brakes in the front. That makes complete sense. But going through a bunch of re-engineering just to get disc brakes on the rear, or to have them look cool through your torque thrust Ds, wholly unnecessary. And then you have to deal with the parking brake. Oh, you think you don't need a parking brake? Well, good luck with that. Dumb idea. So that's the end of my rant for things that you shouldn't do to your classic 60s or 70s car. Now, are you wrong if you've done any of these things that I've mentioned to your car? Not necessarily. I'm just having some fun at everybody's expense. But if you're starting this hobby and you have a car that hasn't had anything really done to it yet, stop and think about what these things actually are supposed to accomplish. Are you doing this just because you want to see the blinginess of the MSD box on your firewall? Or do you really think your car needs something more in that department? I don't think a lot of this stuff is necessary, and a lot of it isn't necessarily very good quality right now. We're suffering from a lot of substandard stuff coming in from you-know-where. So, my cautionary tale is this. Don't spend money unnecessarily. And if you have any of these things done to your car, you may find yourself undoing them like I did and taking off the aluminum pulleys and the silly electronic ignition conversion and just going back to things the way the factory intended. Those guys are way smarter than we are, even though it may have been 40, 50 years ago. Trust them to some degree to know what they're doing. That's the end of my rant. comment below, flame me all you want. Let's have a good time with this. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.